This thing used to make no sense to me. Why build a device just for reading when you have a perfectly good screen on your phone? But everybody who owns a Kindle knows half the answer to that question. It's the backlight on your smartphone, right? That's what strains your eyes. Well, I've tried low brightness, high brightness, lights on, backlight, lamp, dark mode. I've tried everything. The fact that this low-tech screen is still better for reading than this fancy OLED, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There seems to be a much bigger problem with our bodies. I had been dying to get on the Flight Simulator VR train, and I couldn't, because every time that I fly, I feel like I'm gonna puke out the window, which is actually just my floor. Why is it that the more real tech tries to be, the more our bodies reject it? And is there anything that we can actually do about it? Is it a body problem or a tech problem? Which is, by the way, not stopping big tech companies or car companies from slapping VR, AR technology everywhere now. I just wanted to play Flight Simulator VR, man, but what I discovered here is that tech companies, they're trying to pass these tech flaws and these limitations and blame us for the headaches that they're causing. So let's untangle the limits of our meat suit. Okay, so let's go back to these two because this screen has a major fatal flaw that OLED manufacturers have been sneakily hiding for decades. Now, you've probably heard that the way an OLED screen works is by making every single pixel its light source, versus, say, an LED screen where you have a bright panel lighting everything. Now, each pixel in an OLED screen is really gonna be 3 lights: red, green, and blue. They're actually red, green, and blue lights. It's not like some LED that's painted in a certain color. They're using organic chemicals to emit that color, thus the name OLED, organic LED. Now, to make these shine, you're gonna apply a voltage to each one of them so they glow, and the more current you send, the more brightness, of course. Now, if you cut the power, they all turn off, and you get those perfect blacks that everybody talks about with OLED screens. But as I said, there is a fatal flaw with this system. Notice that the voltages for each one of these are different. That's because the wavelengths of each light is different. Now, the mess here is that the red light has this long, relaxed wavelength. Green is shorter, and then blue is the tightest wavelength of the 3 at around 450 nanometers. So blue needs more voltage because blue carries way more energy. So what does that have to do with your headaches? Is this a tech problem or is this a body problem? By the way, there is another piece of everyday tech that's causing a very different kind of headache, mostly because almost nobody knows how to use it correctly. And that's AI. Most people treat AI like this smarter search box. And you ask it a question, you skim the text, and you close a tab. If that's all that you're doing with AI, you are missing the point of the most capable tool on your laptop, which is why we're partnering today with Outskill for their 2-day AI Mastermind. I actually attended it last week, and it's a full deep dive into what this stuff can actually do once you get past the search bar version of it. So over the weekend, they'll teach you how to run a deep research that pulls a topic apart in minutes instead of a whole afternoon of open tabs. You learn how to build your own dashboards with zero code. You set up your background automations so that your admin, your inbox, your repetitive busy work just run themselves. It essentially puts most of your week on autopilot, and you're getting mentored directly by leaders from Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and NVIDIA. For our audience, they're making it 100% free for the first 1,000 people who sign up. You also get 3 free bonuses when you join, which is an AI prompt library, a personalized toolkit builder, and 50 frameworks to turn AI into a God-tier tool. I promise that what you learn in these 2 days will change how you work. You can scan this QR code or hit the link in the description to lock in your seat and join the WhatsApp community before they're gone. So what's with the blue and these OLED screens and headaches? Now, if I want to make this screen less bright, and I just lower the current that I'm sending to them proportionally, there's gonna be a point where blue light is gonna just go off. And that's gonna leave you just with red and green, which, if you remember from your kindergarten, red and green make brown, but when we're dealing with lights, it makes they were all yellow. So in other words, blue needs a minimum current to even operate, which makes the minimum brightness too bright. So how do you make a screen where you can doom scroll before bed? Now, the trick is that instead of dimming the lights below that voltage current that they need, which again would kill just the blue light first, you make the lights flicker. And if you don't believe me, I can show you. Here's an iPhone at full brightness, in slow motion, no flicker. But if you lower the brightness, do you see it? Do you see this flicker? This is called PWM, that's pulse width modulation, because all 3 subpixels, red, green, and blue, they're just pulsing to create this illusion of less brightness. The reason that looking at these screens at night causes eye strain is because your eyes are suffering from this PWM hack. Your eye muscles, they're actually reacting to keep up with the pulsing, and very ironically, none of this happens with the cheap Kindle, because an ink display doesn't emit light at all, so you need a good old lamp, like in the old legendary paper days. Paper technology. But OLEDs were our best bet at lifelike colors, right? And the first piece of the puzzle to my headaches playing Flight Simulator. But that's just the start. So if you're maybe too young to remember, these are old school 3D glasses. Good way to trick our eyes into seeing something that resembles reality, but it's not. And Hollywood has done everything it can to shove these things down our throats.
How to Train Your Dragon in 3D. In 3D.
But put simply, people don't love 3D, right? It strains your eyes, it makes you dizzy. It's just not worth the extra money on the ticket. But why do people hate it so much?
3D movies are trash.
They screwed us.
It sucks.
You see, the only reason why we can see reality in 3 dimensions is because we have 2 eyes. So the image on your left eye is just a little bit different from the image on your right eye. And through basically a lifetime of looking at stuff in the real world, our brains got really good at merging those 2 together and interpreting depth from those images. Now, all the way back in the 1800s, this guy figured out that by showing each of your eyes a slightly different image, you could simulate 3D. That's what any pair of 3D glasses does. Filter one image for your left eye and a different, slightly different image for your right eye. But why do so many people get headaches with 3D? So when you're trying to watch, I don't know, Spider-Man in 3D, you're gonna trick your eyes into this weird paradox. So watching a 3D movie is gonna require your eyes to do 2 things that they're normally really, really good at. First, it's gonna be convergence. So that's when your eyes rotate inward to point at whatever you're tracking, like your finger. So this is of course what happens when you bring a finger close to your face. Your eyes are gonna cross. Now for objects that are far away, of course, your eyes are gonna be parallel. Now the second thing that you'll do is called accommodation, which is kind of like focus. So inside each eye, behind your pupil, there's this tiny flesh lens, and you have muscles that make it change shape to be able to focus on near or far objects. That's why if you, for example, look at your finger up close, besides you being cross-eyed, the world around you is gonna look more blurry. It's a focus situation. So in the real world, in a normal video, these 2 are always gonna work in sync. Every single time your whole life, your eyes are gonna focus on the screen, your convergence or your accommodation are both in the same place. But in a 3D movie, your convergence will start at the screen when the movie starts, but it's gonna move closer to you as you focus on that 3D effect thing, whatever that's coming out of the screen. But your accommodation is not gonna move. Your accommodation needs to stay fixed on the screen. Your focus needs to be on the screen. Now, this is called divergence accommodation conflict, and it has ruined Hollywood's dreams of more expensive movie tickets for decades. Because boy, have they tried. This is the 3rd time that Hollywood has tried to pull this thing off. Now, their first take at this was in the early 1950s with Buona Devil or House of Wax. They used polarized glasses to do it, and they went from lines around the corner to watch this 3D gimmick to getting rid of the whole thing a few years later. And then again, they did it in the 1980s, Friday the 13th, and Jaws 3D. They used the exact same glasses, 30 years later tried to sell the effect again. Same solution and same headache. And now we're watching like the 3rd attempt collapse before our eyes, get it? At some point, even 3D TVs were a thing. They were trying to bring this to the home. Now in TVs, divergence accommodation is even worse because of the screen distance. Now, I was too poor to ever own or even see how a 3D TV looked like, but that's what the research says. Now in VR lenses, you actually get the inverse of this. Because in my flight simulator, Mount Everest is all the way out in the horizon miles away, but my eyes are focused here on these 2 screens on my face. So is there any hope to ever solving this, or are we just screwed? Now, there are actually a bunch of technologies trying to solve this, all with advantages and disadvantages, but it's by no means a lost cause. So the most promising example revolves around varifocal displays, which are these headsets that track your eyes, they figure out what you're focusing on, and they can shift the lens to match the depth in theory, in real time. Now that way your eyes, they're always focused at the right distance because the screen is moving to meet them. Now, Meta spent years building a prototype that could do this, but they haven't been able to get it to market. There's Varju, this VR company that makes military training headsets. They've taken similar approaches from the hardware side. And there's a second approach called light field displays that instead of projecting a flat image at your face on a screen, the display sort of reconstructs how light would actually travel through space if the object were physically there. So in theory, your eyes could focus naturally at any depth because the light is behaving like real light would. There's a company called Serial, not Serial, that's building this for AR glasses. But right now, the optics, they're just too expensive and too bulky to ship anything that resembles consumer scale. Now, don't get me wrong, I am happy that there are companies willing to spend the billions of dollars to try and solve this thing. I mean, they're trying to engineer their way out of this problem to make it compatible with our bodies. And since VR headsets are really just for nerds, at the moment at least, we kind of have to deal with it ourselves. Now, the problem is when this stuff makes it, like it or not, to your windshield, to the dashboard of your car. But before I go to cars, let me talk about another body limit that you've probably experienced yourself, even if you're not a nerd. That's noise-canceling headphones.
Noise-canceling headphones could be ruining your
auditory
brain.
processing disorders.
Pressure.
Noise-canceling headphones are hurting my ears.
We've all experienced this, right? This sort of heavy head when we put on a pair of AirPods or some Sony noise-canceling phones before we even start playing anything. So you might have seen the marketing of active noise cancellation, how it listens to the world around you and somehow cancels this noise. But let's take the example of a plane engine. It's annoying, but also kind of soothing, So check it out. This is how the plane engine sound wave looks if you are outside the plane. So notice that it looks all chaotic with all these spikes. However, if you're sitting inside the plane, the wave will look like this. Now what's happening here is that high-pitched noises, like what you see here with the spikes, they can't travel very far. So they're getting stopped by walls, or in this case, by the plane fuselage. Now, bass noise, lower noises, have this wider wave, and that's why they travel further and why you can hear distant parties when you're trying to sleep. When the wave is up, that's called a peak, and that means that the sound wave is pushing air against your ears, like pushing your eardrum in. On the other hand, when there's a valley, that means that the wave is pulling air out of your ear. Now, what active noise cancellation does is actually pretty remarkable. There's a mic on the outside of the earphone, or the headphones. The mic listens to that sound, and in a little instant creates an inverse wave. Now, notice what I can do here in some audio software. I can take the original plane wave. I've just made a duplicate of it. So they're, in theory, the same wave. And I'm gonna take the second wave, and I'm gonna invert those curves. Gain, stereo, invert. Now the real wave and the anti-wave from your headphones, they're gonna meet in sync. So you have one wave where the peaks are peaks and then one wave where that's been inverted. And if you play them both together, what you end up is this. Complete silence. Now the real wave and the anti-wave from your headphones, they're gonna meet in sync and they're gonna erase the noise. But there is a big exception to this system. Now, noise cancellation really struggles with crying babies because the crying baby wave looks like this. Crying baby, plane. See how chaotic that crying baby wave is? Now, your headphones could try to invert this curve as well, but this wave is so fast, it's so chaotic that if your headphones are off for just a millisecond, you're not gonna get silence. You're actually gonna get a louder noise. So just like the fuselage dampens the high pitch on the plane, your headphones with the little rubber thing or the metal in your ear cups, they muffle those high noises, which of course is not a perfect system. So you do make the room quieter, sure, but in the process, you created an acoustic environment that does not exist anywhere on planet Earth. There's no bass, there's no mid-range noises, but some high-pitched noises. In the natural world, the low-frequency hum of the environment, it never disappears. Your brain has never encountered an environment where bass vanishes but treble remains. So we evolved to only hear sudden silence during big altitude changes. So when you hear this fake silence, your brain is panicking. It thinks that air pressure has suddenly dropped, which creates this phantom feeling of pressure in your head. Just to try to explain it. So let's see what we have so far. Conflict 1, my OLED displays, they're tiring my eyes even before we take off. Conflict 2, Mount Everest is 200 miles away on the horizon, but my eyes are focused on a screen right here, 2 inches from my face. Like conflict 3, my noise canceling headphones, they make my brain think that air pressure has dropped, which is actually realism for my flight simulation. But conflict 4, which I even haven't mentioned yet, is the inner ear. For the last 300,000 years of human evolution, our senses have operated in this perfect zero latency agreement. So if your eyes see that you're sprinting, the fluid in your inner ear feels the acceleration, your leg muscles feel the weight and the gravity, everything is alive. Now, VR headsets, they ask you to decouple these two things, plus adding a bunch of other complications like millisecond delays between the controls and the video and the audio, and some people just can't. What the brain actually thinks from all these mixed signals is that it's been poisoned, and that's what triggers vomit. Now, I've been slowly building my tolerance on the PSVR, in part thanks to the Vision Pro, which has some of these issues as well, but less. In part because the Vision Pro, what you see on the screen aligns more closely with what your muscles and your inner ear are feeling in the real world. A lot of people never develop that tolerance, and yet, somehow, we are expected to start driving on these. Car companies are obsessed with putting HR heads-up displays, HUDs, in our windshields. Right now, every major automaker, Mercedes, BMW, Hyundai, it's a race to turn your windshield into like this AR display. These cars are using a projector that's hidden inside the dashboard that bounces light off the glass of your windshield, right? But because of the angle of the windshield, this doesn't look like a flat screen. The illusion makes it look like the graphics are hovering in 3D space, on the road. Now, marketing says that it's safer because you never have to take your eyes off the road, but academic studies on cognitive ergonomics have proven that AR windshields are basically a cocktail of biological disasters. So you have vergence accommodation because of the depth of the road versus the projections on the screen. Your brain is overwhelmed by a new layer of signals that actually might slow your reaction time. Keeping your eyes on the road is not the same as paying attention to the road. Now, the higher end implementations of this tech, they are trying to address this. Some automakers are redesigning the display to place information at different focal distances so it feels like it's part of the world outside the windshield. But lower end displays, they're still gonna be on a flat plane, and they're gonna be forced upon a generation of drivers that hasn't had AR training like the nerds among us. Now, last week, I finally made it to the summer of Everest in the simulator. Without puking. That's 3 months of building some tolerance, and I'm a believer. I think the technology will catch up. But big tech also needs to understand that the reason people get nausea and headaches is not a bad body. It's that the tech that they're building and selling is deceiving the core of our brains, and the tech isn't where it needs to be yet. I think it will be, but I wonder what you guys think. Now, drop it in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, check out our episode on why movies look cheap on our newer TVs. Catch you on the next one.